Let's pay homage to the lineage gurus. Homage to the Venerable Monk Liao-Ming. Homage to Master Sakya Zheng-Kong. Homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. And homage to Master Dupten Dorji. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to the main deity of the group practice tonight. Padmakumara, who is omnipresent in the all 10 Dharma realms. Simu, Tanzen Gatso, all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma lecturers, Dharma assistants, directors of temples and chapters, and all disciples present here and over the internet, and our participating VIPs today are Accountant to Buddha Foundation, Dharma Sister Teresa, Dr. Ryan Zhuang, Dr. Su Lin, and Datin from Malaysia, Dharma Sister Li Qing, and Li Qi, and Datin from Malaysia, Dharma Sister Tze Fei, and PR Director of the Taiwan Temple, Mr. Dharma Brother Fermi Wang. Good evening, everyone. How do you do? In Cantonese. First, I would like to talk about this year's grand ceremony in Seattle. The main deity will be Milarepa. I will be teaching about Milarepa, the Jetsun Milarepa. And Milarepa in the Tibetan Tantrayana is known to everyone, including tantric practitioners or the sutric practitioners or even non-Buddhist. So he's also the patriarch of the Kagyupa of Tibetan Tantrayana. And the lineage of Kagyupa came from Tilupa to Nalupa. They belong to India, and in Tibet there becomes Marpa, and then to Milarepa, and from Milarepa to Gampopa, and from Kampopa to the first Karmapa, all the way to the 16th Karmapa. And to today, the two 17th Karmapas. So, Grandmaster's lineage in the Kagyu sect was from 1980 in upstate New York, which is the Tri-Chakra Dharma Center. I met His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. So I had his lineage. So Grandmaster has 4 lineage gurus. The Venerable monk Liao-Ming, belonging to the Nyingma-pa, and Master Sakya Tsung-Kong or the Zhong Rinpoche belongs to the Sakya-pa, and His Holiness 16 Karmapa is from the Kakyu-pa, and Master Dupten Dorji of the Gelugpa. So True Buddha School has 4 lineages from all 4 sects of Tantric Buddhism. And Grandmaster also holds the lineage from Master Pufang. And this lineage is slightly related to the Japanese Tantrayana. And of course, it's even closer to the Chinese Tantrayana. Japanese Tantrayana came from Chinese Tantrayana. And no matter what, the main deity of our grand ceremony this year is Jetsun Milarepa. And he's the one highly revered by all practitioners. So please don't miss this grand ceremony this year on August 24th. August 24th. And one more thing. The Twin Lotus Columbarium at the Rainbow Temple is a columbarium where we put ashes of the deceased. When the story of the Rainbow Temple was that as we drove on the I-90, we saw a very bright and shining rainbow rising, and the car was driving very fast, following that rainbow. And eventually, we got to the place where the rainbow started, and that was the Rainbow Villa or the Rainbow Temple now. And that place was the place where the 7 stars convene. The 7 stars are the 7 mountains surrounding the Rainbow Temple or Rainbow Villa. In the front, there's the Heavenly Horse Mountain. Looks like a divine horse. And a flag mountain. And to the right is a sheep mountain and a Head Mountain, and to the left is a Friend Mountain, and then also the mountain of the character 1. So for a total of 7 mountains. And the twin Miriam was built geometry shape. There are only 2 seashell geometry shape. One is in Qiji, in the 7th district in Taichung City in Taiwan, where the earth god temple was. So the shell was the bottom shell, so it is looking up. So that temple was very popular. It's very popular. It's in Taichung City. And the second seashell geometry shape is where the twin lotus columbarium of the Rainbow Temple is right now. So the geometry and the feng shui is extremely wonderful. So I was talking about the shape of the form of the earth and where the water comes and goes. And then the two protruding ground on the left and right, protecting it. And then in the front there are waters flowing. For the 4 of the directions. So whatever Chinese zodiac you have can be placed at this columbarium in the right direction. And in the future, Master will also be there for sure. It's not that many left, so you should be. You should do it soon. Otherwise, if it's completely full, then you would miss out. Then what would you do? So that place has limited space, so please be fast. It's very precious. We cannot say that you buy a space, but you're making donation. If we say we buy, that's like a business, but we're non-profit. So space is limited because when we watch TV, space is limited. Please make use of the opportunity. So I hope that you all have an opportunity to be there. So even when you pass away, that is still a good place for you. In the future, if you still want to Grandmaster will be there to give Dharma teaching. Talking about Padmakumara, let me tell a joke first. There's a lady who was in a fight with her husband, and she doesn't want to cook for the husband, but she has a kid and she doesn't want to starve the kid. So she took the kid to the noodle shop to eat. And when she picked up the kid asked the mom, with tears in his eyes, "Mommy, are you still going to fight with Dad today?" And the lady asked, "Why? What's going on?" And the kids continued crying and said, "Because the noodle last night was really tasty, delicious." So the kid did not know. He just thought that if Mom and Dad are fighting again today, then he could go to the noodle shop again. So that showed that the meals at home were not that good. So kids like that, they're very innocent. So the true nature of Padmakumara is that they are very innocent. And without any flaws, faults, or without any guilt. That's why I often say that I don't want to become adults. I don't want to grow up. Because in this world, the more you grow up, the more karma you created. The more mature you are, the more crook you become. So that's not very beneficial to yourself. So as a Buddhist, it's best not to know too much. The simpler you are, the better. So I never want that you have so many functions in your cell phone. That you can check anything at any time so fast. I am not envious of any of those. I am just single-minded toward the Buddha and wholeheartedly practicing Buddhism and wholeheartedly practicing goodness. Because at that time, I received instructions from Amitabha Buddha, Golden Mother, and Siddhagama Bodhisattva. And they said, you have to be wholehearted in practicing the Buddhism, learning from the Buddha, and then studying the Dharma and doing good or virtuous things. These three statements. But hey, I do have a cell phone. So like, you know, if my car is broken, then I need my cell phone to make a phone call. I never turn it on. This is my cell phone. It has good features. I can make a phone call. I never turn it on. If I have no problems, I will not use this cell phone. And this is my cell phone. It has great function. I don't have any tablet and no computers, and I don't know how to use computers. I have no tablets or iPad. But I live really well, and I live a very colorful life. I don't need to know too much. It's good enough to know Buddha Dharma. And Padmakumara never lies. Don't lie. Don't cheat. So it's very famous, things from Taiwan. And you know what it is? It's the fraud company, and it's all over the world. Every day they make phone calls. So the Taiwanese fraud company or blackmailing from Taiwan is very famous. That's like the pride of Taiwan. But no matter what, we Padmakumara are very innocent and without any evil or guilt. And once you practice Buddhism, then you become like that. We have no greed for money. Like the ghost witch is also fraud. It's like a scammer, like a scam. You know, I never tell anyone, hey, you're going to die tomorrow. And then, what should I do? Should I be careful going anywhere? Or she would say, she doesn't say tomorrow, but she said next year, because tomorrow she will be proven wrong right away. So these people were cheated by her, and they got really scared and then asked her, what should they do? And then she said, well, you know, give me this amount of money and I would do some ceremony for you. So she's trying to swindle money for scam. But I never told anyone when they will die. Even when I know, I will not say it. Because that's like a threat. It's very easy to lie. So she always threatens people when they will die. And we all know she's always wrong. And she's been talking about myself for 10 years, that I would die at 73. And from now on, every year, I would say Do-Re-Mi to her. So it's meaningless, right? Why was she saying that all the time? And she also claimed Zhang Tze from Shanghai that he would suffer great calamity at 25. And what was she talking about? That he did not dare to leave his house at all for the whole year when he was 25. But nothing happened to him. Now she claimed that he would die at 29. You know, people that are not supposed to die, but then people may be shocked to death. And his parents were also told when they would die. And they came to Seattle for a month or so and hoped that they would not die. And then I told them what to do. And also the director and his wife from a chapter in Australia, they were told that they would die the following year, but it's 4 years past now and they are still alive. So she just lies. So she's really scam. With a fraud company. And Padmakumara is never like that. Because we are very innocent. We have no evil at all in us. You know, another example, she went to Mount Utai and talked to her at the tomb there and said, "Oh, Sun Tze, the Emperor Sun Tze, you suffered here. Why don't you come with me to the San Francisco? Sorry to have you waited for so long." You know, as an emperor, he would have been buried in the royal mausoleum. How could he be just in the remote area? And his guru was calling venerable, and he never took even a cent. And the Emperor Sun Tze gave him lots of gifts, carts or horses, and clothing, attendants, and everything when he was about to leave the palace, but he did not take any of them. He was still wearing his rag and carrying his bag and with his stick or staff, and he left the palace. Only this is the true Lu-Ling national teacher. So he did not want anything. Not like the Ghost Witch, she wants everything. So of course she's not a true Padmakumara, she's a fake Padmakumara. It's very easy to distinguish. A true Padmakumara is a very generous, very authentic, and there are marks on their palms, on their body, and on top of that, they also have confirmation from the Dakinis on their bodies, and they have the confirmations or the marks by the root guru, the Yidam, and Dakini, protector, Dakini and Yidam. There's someone came to Grandmaster and made a vow and she or he wants to follow Kshitigarbha Bodhisattva and salvage sentient beings in the spirit world or in the nether world. As we were talking, she made this vow with authenticity from the whole heart, and then she cried. And Grandmaster noticed that this person is definitely a Padmakumara. And then I asked her to show her mark, confirmation mark. And she showed me, and I confirmed her to be Padmakumara. And this is true. Very earnest, very kind, and naturally very innocent and sincere. Only this is a true Padmakumara. Without these traits, then a person or someone is not Padmakumara. So, as I just said, the most important things about Padmakumara is, for myself, this Padmakumara, I could say that at the age of 26, when Golden Mother took me flying in the cosmos to see Padmakumara, she told me in my ears, the one shining bright white light, the one that you cannot see his face, that is Padmakumara, and he is your past life. Now I'm 75, and that happened when I was 26, and it's still like in my ears and in my eyes. It's still fresh in my eyes and my ears. I still remember it very clearly now. This is your past life, and this is Padmakumara. After I learned of my own past life, I visited all the venerable gurus and teachers all over the place, and no one knew of Padmakumara. So the first person who were publishing or talking about Padmakumara was from the Lanzhou University in mainland China, from the Donghuang research, the research on Donghuang grottos. And it mentioned that in each of the cave or grotto in Donghuang, there is enshrined Padmakumara. And they call it directly Padmakumara. 莲花童子, or lotus youth. So, which is from Amitabha Buddha's Western realm, it was emanated, the Mahatwain lotus pond, and on top of the lotus blossoms, the very bright, positive, innocent, and kind lotus youth. So from the research at the Lanzhou University on Donghuang, it mentioned an article on Padmakumara. Lanzhou University in the Gansu province, Gansu, right? Gansu province of mainland China. In the Donghuang research, there's an article on the Padmakumara. During the Tang Dynasty, there is a children rhyme about Padmakumara, and there are 10 of them. There were 10 of them. The Padmakumara meets the golden sage, and the flowers shower left and right, and the marvelous music heard above the clouds, and generate bliss beyond all the heavens. I just remember the first rhyme. There were 9 left, and even the children could sing them. So we can see that the history of Padmakumara has been many years. And Buddhism spread to China during Jin and Sui dynasty. Tang Song Yan Ming Qing dynasties. Tang dynasty is also a dynasty where Buddhism flourished extremely well. And at that time, Padmakumara already popular. So we were talking about Padmakumara. Now let me continue teaching on Lamdre. In the branch, if there is a violation to the Samaya, one needs to please the channel seat of the wisdom Dakini Sambhogakaya, and afterwards one needs to practice the realization until one attains assessment, meaning choosing a path to practice. When one gains single-mindedness, it is called practicing the realization until one attains assessment. One uses this to increase the mind chi of the accumulated inner sky traveler. This is about chi, channels, and light drops. So if you violate the basic samaya, if you practice your chi, channels, and light drops to cultivate spiritually, and you gain the great bliss, and you truly attain assessment, then you can restore the broken samaya. So you yourself do it in your spiritual cultivation. If you can gain the greatest bliss, so let me tell you what is bliss. It's a kind of feeling. It's an experience. If you can truly feel the bliss, that means you have some assessment or confirmation. This bliss came from inside you. But this kind of bliss and joy is not just the typical bliss and joy. The joy that we mentioned above is the innate bliss. Like I have said before, when inner fire is generated, then you would experience this bliss and joy. When your light drops descend, you would also feel the bliss. When chi flows inside an open channel, you would also feel the bliss. If you attain all this, then the broken samaya is naturally restored. But if you have never experienced the arising bliss, then that's not the assessment. That's not the attainments. So practice the realization until attainment. Because in order to experience the bliss, it has to be single-minded. And what is that single-mindedness? Dwelling in single-mindedness, that's entering into samadhi. So in order to experience the bliss, you have to be single-minded. So, when your inner fire has arisen, light drops has descended, your channels are open and flowing. And if you have attained the single-mindedness, then that's practicing the realization until attainments. Then you can increase the mind chi. Although if you have violated your basic samaya, and because through your practice you can have single-mindedness and experience great bliss, that can restore your samaya. That means you have attainment through your practice. If one violates the samaya of latter attainment, one needs to please Mamaki Dakini and practice realization until attainment. To become the Mamaki Dakini, which is the 157 channels, etc. Practicing realization until attainments to create bliss refers to the spiritual experience of the three no faults generated by the mind, and the ambrosia fill all the channels and bliss generates to the continuum. If one violates the 12 higher samaya, one needs to please the meat-eating Dakini and the samaya Dakini, which is by flesh and blood as grand offering. This is the instruction on mending or restoring the violation of the 20 branches of samaya on the path of the middling spiritual route. Yesterday, during lunch, I have told everyone, or during dinner, I mentioned, during dinner last night, Grandmaster mentioned many, the 4 guardian mothers, the 8 directional Dakinis, the goddesses of the 20 heavens, and all the Dakinis, the cosmos traveling mothers, many of them, like stars in the sky, descended that afternoon. In 1 hour, in the period of 1 hour, there were many Dakinis descending, including Machiklapdran, including the black wrathful Dakini. And who are the 4 guardian mothers? Inside the mandala, there are 4 gates, and she's guarding these 4 gates. Dakinis with animal heads and human bodies. So heads of the beast and bodies of a human. So they are considered Heruka, Dakinis in Heruka shape. And they are also referred as the meat-eating Dakini. So, if one violates samaya of latter attainment, one needs to please Mama Dakini. And who is this Mama Dakini? It's the same as Mama Ki Dakini. As I remember, Mama Ki Dakini is the white robe Guan Yin, or the white robe Avalokitesvara. Are they related? I am not sure. I'm not so sure. But You want to please this Dakini. So when you practice the realization until attainment, to make sure that she gets the bliss. So the Mamaki Dakini, which is the 157 channels, would attain the bliss. At those times, the channels inside your body would be dancing, all trembling, all over 100 channels. They would even fly. So this way you would be able to mend the basics, the broken basic samaya. So the spiritual experience of the three no faults. So you would feel that all the faults are already alleviated. And the ambrosia fill all the channels. So at that moment, the bliss will fill all the channels inside the body. And bliss generates to the continuum. And the Dakinis who descended include Siddharthapatra, Vajravarahi, Singamukha. All the Dakinis descended. Of this, the four guardian mothers, the Dakinis of the 8 directions. The 8 directions, these are 4 directions, and then in between them, 4 more directions, altogether 8 directions. And then plus on top and at the bottom. So above are the 4 guardian mothers, and below are the goddess of the 20 heavens. So all the Dakinis came. So the bliss that is generated at that moment is called the innate bliss. The bliss that's continual. It's not that it just happened for a moment and disappeared, but it is continual for 1 hour. It is unceasing, the trembling of the body for 1 hour. So that's the bliss. That is the continuum. And what is momentary bliss? That's when a man and a woman are together, and the bliss that they had is the bliss that lasts for a very short time. Especially for the man, it's the bliss that disappears in a moment. And for the woman, her bliss is slightly longer and slightly multiple times. But this continuum bliss is a continual bliss, and sometimes for hours or 24 hours. So after the bliss, you're continually in the bliss. That's the innate bliss, the true bliss. If one violates the 12 higher samaya, one needs to please the meat-eating Dakini and the samaya Dakini. You have to please both kinds of Dakinis. One is the meat-eating Dakini, which are the 4 guardian mothers, and the samaya Dakini. So both Dakinis, One is the Dakini that belongs to the Heruka type. To make this Heruka type Dakinis to experience bliss, and the Samaya Dakini, which is the serene or the graceful Dakinis, to also experience bliss, and to use flesh, blood, the drops and offerings to the Dakinis. So this is the instruction on restoring violation on the Samayas. So the instruction, the teaching on Lamdre today is quite deep and profound. But if you have listened to Grandmaster's teachings for a while, you would understand. But if you just take refuge today, then you probably would be totally buffle-headed, muddle-headed. So if you breach a precept, how do you restore it? How do you mend it? What kind of precepts you have broken, and what kind of methods you can use to mend it or to restore it back. It's also good using your own practice until you have your own attainments. And the proven attainments is when you gain the continual bliss. And another kind of confirmed attainment is that your body can emit light. That's the second kind. And the third kind, that you can already samadhi into single-mindedness, dwelling on single-mindedness into samadhi. And because you to samadhi, you truly comprehend the empty nature, and that's considered to be the highest kind of confirmed attainment. Oh, realize. It's like the stars in the sky descending from the cosmos. Like the group practice this evening, they are all the same. There are many Dakinis descending from the cosmos upon this place. And they are also listening to Grandmaster's teaching. So this is something that we can assess. The teacher asked Xiaoming, can you describe what it is to be lucky? The teacher asked Xiaoming. So when you fall from so you don't get hurt. So that's lucky. Luck. And the teacher continued, so what is bad luck? That on top of the straws, there are the fork. And what is hope? That you didn't fall onto the fork, but on the straw. And what is hopelessness?
小明回答
And Xiaoming said,
老师呢没有掉在草堆上。
is that the teacher did not fall onto the straw.
那小明是很聪明的。
Xiaoming is very smart.
那么我们在修行当中，每一个人
So in our spiritual cultivation, every one of us would have violated precepts, and sometimes we also violate the samaya. But we are all very fortunate, because even if you violate the samaya and you follow the instructions in Lamdre, you can resolve the samaya. That would be wonderful. Then the violated samaya would be resolved naturally. Xiaoming told his dad, "Dad, I don't want to go to school today." And Dad asked Xiaoming what happened. And Xiaoming said, "Last week, a chicken died in the farm. And at lunch, we had the braised chicken. And then a few days ago, the pig died. And then the second day lunch, we ate the braised pork. And then Xiaoming said, but yesterday our English teacher died." It's not that possible that they would eat human meat. This is a modern poem. It's about hair. There's so many hair on my pillow, and on my blanket there's so many hair, and on the floor there's still hair, but I have no hair on my head. I remember there's a joke like this. She would look for hair on her bed. If she found hair, then she started to. They slept on different room, on different bed. So every day she would look for hair on her husband's bed or floor. And one day she couldn't find any hair at all, and she still beat her husband. And the husband said, "But there's no hair. Why are you hitting me?" Because now you even want a nun. And that kind of wives, oh my gosh. Amitabha. Is this a joke? Yeah, it's okay, I can tell you. And you want to duplicate key, and this is only meaningful in Chinese.
卖便当的阿姨问：“你要换吗？”
You want to buy a bento, but the shopkeeper asks, "Are you a beggar?" Yeah, this is only meaningful in Chinese.
去领包裹，那个给你包裹那个人，你是大件货还是小件货？你去倒垃圾呢？这个清洁的那个阿伯问：“你是什么垃圾？”
So you try to throw garbage, and the garbage collector asks, "What kind of garbage are you?"
清楚自己已经定位了没有？这个就有什么好笑的？去剪头发。
You want to have your hair cut, and the barber asks.
镜子觉得这样行吗？
Just look at yourself in the mirror first.
其实也有几个不好笑的。
A few of them are not funny.
昨天晚上啊，梦到叶下老。
Last night I dreamt of the old man under the moon, and he's a matchmaker in China. And so he asks the old man, "Tomorrow is a Valentine's Day, and I don't even have a lover. So what kind of red thread are you holding? Why don't you connect me to a lover?" And the old man thought about it for a while. "See, my red thread is very short, but your waist is quite thick, so it's not enough. So if you're very fat, please be careful. Actually, it's not healthy if you're too heavy, but also don't be too skinny. Not too heavy and not too slim. It has to be just right." The son asked me, "Dad, you're so ugly. How come Mom was willing to marry you?" So the son asked the dad, and Mom said, because there was one person who gave the greatest support. And the son asked the dad, "Who was that?" "That's you." That's you. Now you get it, right? So you have to find the source for anything. In Buddhism too, it teaches you to find the source. So we often talking about the mind and the spirit. You have to seek your own mind. The Buddha once said, you have to search for your own mind. But let me tell you, the mind is just a name.
你怎么找也找不到它在哪。
Doesn't matter how you search for it,
有形的
you
心
will not find
是
it.
心脏，
Where does the mind resides?
或者是说
Chinese would say
的
the mind is the
这个
heart,
心
is the organ heart.
你要找这个根，
It's not
到
that.
底住在哪里？
But you have to find the source or the origin of this
不是
mind.
心脏这个心，
Where is the mind
不
residing?
是讲我们讲心啊。
It's not this heart organ, but the mind. Where is
那
it?
么我们谈心就讲说，那是心心
And
灵啊
talking about the
那心
mind,
灵
we would say, oh, it's the
它
spirit.
住在哪里？
But where is the
它
spirit?
从哪里出
Where
来？
does it reside? Where does it come
佛
from?
教常常叫你去这样子去追寻。
Buddhism often teaches you to trace it. And one day, if you find it, then that would be the Buddha.
但是自
Then
信
you
有
would be
没有？
Buddha.
还是
Then
有
that would be your self-nature. But does self-nature exist? That's the question.
叫你找到根源。
And that's the research in Buddhism. And the concept to find the source or the origin.
突然呢，导师的手机响，
During class, the teacher's cell phone rang. And the teacher looked at the cell
问
phone
所有
and stopped for a little bit and asked the students,
打来的电话接不接？
should I get the phone call from the leader?
领导打来的电话接不接？那所有的同学
And all the students replied,
要接，
of course you
领导
should,
打来的当然要接。
because it's
老
the
师
phone
跑到
call
外面
from
拿起电话，
his leader.
老婆什么事啊？
And then the teacher went out of the class and got the phone call and said, hey honey, what's up?
所以我们结过婚的，一般来讲结过婚的男人，
So all married men
大家要学会忍，
should learn to be patient and endure.
一定要忍。
You have to endure.
你能够忍的话，你就能够
If you
长
can do it, if you can tolerate, then it would last a long time. But if you cannot endure it, then it will definitely not last a long time. You would get divorced right away.
所以忍辱非常重要。一定要忍
Therefore, this patience and endurance are extremely important,
生
because it is very, very rare that women don't nag. Extremely rare to find a woman that doesn't nag.
很少有女生不唠叨的。女生啊，那个嘴巴生起来就是要讲话的，
You know, women
她不讲话，
are born to chatter. If they don't talk, then they would die. So just endure
千
it.
万不要跟她冲突哦。她
By all means,
听不下去，
don't argue with her. If you can't stand it anymore, just walk away.
她还叫你回来听。
But that's not right to her too, and she would call on you to have to listen.
这个，所以当一个男人也不容易，懂吗？你朋友？
Therefore, it's not so easy to be a man, or mani
非常
padme
感
hum.
谢圣尊宝贵。